From Georgia, Mr. McCormick for 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm sure you're excited to have my questions since I am at the tail end of this discussion. Thank you. This has been enlightening. In regards to what the chair just recently brought up, and in quoting this book, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with, it's basically the 2023 Center for Strategic International Studies War Game, The First Battle of the Next War. They identify, and I quote, "Military planning appears to assume that U.S. forces will be able to deploy onto sovereign territory of other countries during a crisis. In particular, the Army and Marine Corps seem to assume that the MLRs and the MDTFs will be pre-positioned in the Philippines, Taiwan, or on 4 Japanese islands before the conflict begins. However, such permissions for forward deployments en masse do not seem likely, due to immense destruction the conflict would cause. They aptly noted that there is therefore the potential for a fundamental disconnect between U.S. war plans and political realities." I would make the case that we're doing the same thing as we plan and we prepare our forces, including my beloved Marine Corps, as we plan for pre-positioning people on islands and chains we don't really would have access to if a war actually began. And are we preparing for the right battles? In other words, we have to have we've never predicted a war yet correctly. We always end up in these conflicts we didn't anticipate. And if we put all of our development in our defense into baskets where we think it's a massive war, but we end up fighting all these other peripheral wars, are we indeed, in your opinion, preparing for the variety of wars we could face in the future, or are we just really focusing too much on one theater?
It's hard, obviously, to gather a fulsome set of lessons from unclassified war games, although this was a pretty comprehensive set of games. But I think if we look at what's happened the last year in Ukraine, we should all be questioning all of our assumptions about planning, but particularly if we're looking at a Taiwan scenario.
I think when you look at a conflict, if you assume a solution or a problem, you have clearly misunderstood and not done enough history, right? What you look for is, what are options, and do I have the capacity to take advantage of them if they present themselves? And what are the risks? There are certain things you can't assume you will have, and then if I don't, well, then I can't fight, because you may discover that's exactly what you can't have. So one of the challenges in going through this in wargaming is, what are the things that I should assume I might not have? And do I have an ability to work around that? And what are the things that if the window presented themselves, I could take advantage of? But as you point out, if you make too narrow a set of assumptions and everything breaks your way, you're not prepared for when they don't. And typically, they don't.
The only thing I'd add is, from the standpoint of logistics and sea lift, we need to get onto the business of, service life extensions, buying some foreign aspects of our ready reserve fleet, and then building purpose-built ships that are going to be able to sustain and provide the logistics that we need.
Fantastic. Well, I'm looking forward to learning tons more on how we can streamline the process for both what we're facing now and into the future. With that, I yield, sir.